So welcome everyone. Today in this session we are going to look at the human ear. We are going to look at the functions of the human ear, the different parts and their functions, and then we shall look at the process of hearing and balancing. So you need to note that the ear is used for two functions: hearing, okay, and then balancing. Balancing is about knowing the position of the head, okay. We shall look at that later on. So let's first look at the parts. The ear is divided into three parts: the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. So in our diagram here, you see the pinna, which we can call the auricle. That is one part of the outer ear. And then we see the auditory canal, which is the tube, okay, and it has some hair and some glands that produce wax, okay, and then the eardrum. So those are the parts of the outer ear, okay, three things: the pinna, the auditory canal, and then the eardrum. So let's look at their functions. The pinna is used in collecting the sound waves and directing them towards the auditory canal, okay. So that means that the pinna helps in picking up the sound, okay, or the vibrations, and concentrating them and directing them towards the auditory canal. The auditory canal, like we saw, is a tube. It has some hair and also some glands that produce a substance that we call wax. That wax is important for lubrication, one, and two, for trapping any foreign objects or bodies that try to enter the ear, okay. So that is the auditory canal. And then it also kinds of provides space, since the auditory canal is a tube, so it means there's space, and that space allows the eardrum to be flexible. And that's the other thing that you can note. And then the eardrum is just a membrane, okay, that divides the external ear and the middle ear, okay. It vibrates, and therefore it helps in transmission of the sound from the outer ear to the middle ear. And then we now move to the middle ear. The middle ear has a tube that we call the eustachian tube, okay. We can also call it the auditory tube. This tube is very important in equalizing pressure between the middle ear and the environment, okay. So it in a way prevents damage to the eardrum, okay, because if you have a lot of air pressure, it can make the eardrum to bulge, but because of this tube, it can equalize the pressure on either side of the eardrum. Equalize the pressure on between the environment and the middle ear. That's very key. And then the other second part of the middle ear are the three bones that we call the ossicles. Okay, the ossicles include the malleus, incus, and the stapes. These are the three bones found in the middle ear. Okay, So these also amplify the vibrations that they receive from the eardrum, and therefore transmit them to the inner ear. Okay, so we can now look at the inner ear. The inner ear is mainly having tubes and canals. Okay, now so let's first look at the first type of tubes that we find in the inner ear. So here we have the cochlea. The cochlea they are snail shaped. Okay, these round things that you see here, and they're filled with fluid. Okay, so when the vibrations through the bones reach the inner ear, they make this fluid in this cochlea to also transmit vibrations and cause generation of impulses. Okay, so impulses are generated in the inner ear. Okay, so from the outer ear we're talking about vibrations. When we come to the middle ear, talking about vibrations, and then when we reach the cochlea, which is in the inner ear, we are now talking about impulses being generated. Okay, how are they being generated? When the ossicles have these vibrations through the oval window also vibrate, and this vibration of the oval window will disturb the fluid in the cochlear fluid, and then causing impulses to be generated in the cells that we call the sensory hair. The sensory hair will be stimulated, and then impulses will be generated, and these will be sent through the auditory nerve to the brain for interpretation. Okay, the fact that the cochlea is actually coiled, this provides more surface area to have more sensory hair that can enhance the sensitivity to the vibrations and the stimulation that happens in the inner ear. Okay, so we move to the other parts in the inner ear, the semicircular canals. Okay, the semicircular canals, there are three canals that are oriented at right angles to one another. We have two that are horizontal, and then one that circular, one that is circular. I mean vertical, not circular. Okay, so they play an important role in the process of balancing, as we shall see shortly. So they contain sensory cells that when they get stimulated, impulses will be generated and then sent through the auditory nerve, which is the other part that is also found in the inner ear. The other parts are the auricle and the saccule. These are also sacs that contain fluids also. They also play an important role in balancing, and the cells that we have there can be stimulated because of gravity, and we shall look at that in balancing. So generally what we are basically looking at here is the process of hearing, which we have actually described in our presentation. But to make it more understandable to you, let's go through it just briefly. We are saying that the pinna collects the sound waves and direct them towards the auditory canal. Okay, towards the eustachian tube, which we actually also call the auditory tube. Okay, so these waves will cause the vibration of the the eardrum, and this vibration of the eardrum will result into these vibrations being transmitted to the 3 bones that we have looked at. These 3 bones amplify the vibrations and also transmit these vibrations to the oval window. Okay, transmit these vibrations to the oval window, and then the vibration of the oval window disturbs the fluid in the cochlear canals. Okay, and then that disturbance of the fluid causes the sensory cells in the cochlea to send impulses. Okay, to send impulses through send the impulses to the auditory nerve, and then the auditory nerve now sends the impulses to the brain for interpretation of the sound. Okay, where that sound is coming from, the loudness and the pitch. Okay, so that is the process of hearing. If I may repeat it, we are saying that the sound waves are collected by the pinna and then channeled or directed to the auditory canal or the ear canal, and then these reach the eardrum that also responds to sound waves by vibrations. So these vibrations are now transmitted from the eardrum through the 3 bones in the middle ear to the inner ear, and the inner ear will first encounter the oval window. Okay, the vibration of the oval window disturbs the fluid in the cochlea, and then within the cochlea we already know that we have sensory cells, sensory hair cells that will generate impulses, and this will be sent through the auditory nerve to the brain for interpretation.